Hello everybody and welcome back to the Coffee and Geography podcast. Whew, it's been quite a season, hasn't it? So I thought it'd be good to round off the season with a bit of a reflection and summary. Now, this finale isn't about the lessons that I've learned, but it's about the wisdom from all the extraordinary guests that I've spoken to and all the climate ambassadors that are part of the Department for Education's Climate Ambassador Scheme. So today we step back and let their voices lead. Engineers, teachers, nuclear experts, soil scientists, all volunteering to turn climate anxiety into action. And their message: start where you are, do what you can, trust the collective. Many of you folks out there know that one of the approaches that I take is through storytelling in terms of my climate science communication or the way that I like to talk about issues. So let's take that approach here. Let's go through this as a story, as a journey, where we work through how we're feeling about taking climate action, and in particular the way that climate ambassadors are trying to drive this change, converting anxiety into action. How to break this paralysis of scale. How to make sure that we don't feel overwhelmed. What's the first act? How are we going to bring it through to the final act? To a future where we want it. So let's go. Act 1. Start small and build. Stephanie Gilleva, sustainable finance expert, sees schools drowning in ambition. Here is her reality check.
They're a big school, right? So they've already got quite a bit of help. I think they've had Let's Go Zero help them with their plans. I think that perhaps the bigger academies and bigger schools might have had a bit more help or have more resource to do this. But it is interesting talking to primary schools, and I wonder if that is representative around the country. Maybe some are getting more help from local authorities than others. And I know Blowfield, they did come, Kit, to one of your events at UEA.
They did, yes.
I found that really helpful. But I think she said she came away full of great, brilliant. And then the day job gets in the way, and it's which always is why you need a plan, right? Isn't it? You need a plan. You need it to be broken down. You need some just really simple. We just talked about some really simple things, like just simple initiatives just to get off the ground and get things, the momentum going, so you don't feel that kind of overwhelm.
Momentum through micro wins. And that is how Council Officer Amelia Grigg approaches systemic change.
And not just us. I mean, there's so many different, charities and things like Let's Go Zero, and I know there's the sister projects from climate ambassadors as well. That at the moment, it kind of feels like getting a hold on everything that's out there and trying to funnel it down to give to people, which is really, really exciting at the moment in terms of what we do as a council. So it's part of our role to work with schools and work in that kind of climate education capacity. So climate ambassadors links up so nicely. We do a lot of different things, from kind of one-to-one support with schools, helping them around the Eco Schools initiative is a really big part of what we do. So we have the goal of having 100 schools to register and get their green flag from Eco Schools by 2030. So kind of slowly chipping away at that and trying to get more schools involved in running their own environmental initiatives.
And now Ray Butchart, RAF engineer turned marine biologist. He shows how small cogs drive big change.
We are a short period of time in nature and the world. But we have made some changes to the world. We want to see really what the long term is. And you can only get that by continuously monitoring. So when I did my marine biology, I got involved with various universities like Sussex University, Lancaster one, I think I did, it must be about 50 years ago, various things where they started these things. And we started doing marine biology surveys. So as our diving club, it would give us a project. We'd go out and they said, oh, we're going to look at snails this time, or we're going to look at mollusks, or we're looking at fish or coral or whatever when we went to Ascension. And then we'd feed all that information back to them and they say, this is superb. I mean, I did one on my own in the Falkland Islands when I went down to do my tour of the Falklands after the war down there. And I set up a diving club with another chap. We got a whole pile of divers, and then we started observing things down there. I contacted the university and I said, look, I've come across this. Here's a photograph of it. What do you make of it? And I got this reply saying, this is so-and-so. We've not recorded that there before. Thank you very much. And it gave them more information for them to work on later. So even if you're only a little cog in the system.
Right, yes.
We require lots of little cogs, that's what it is.
Act 2. Root it locally. Global crisis, local solutions. Tulsi Prabhakaran, bridging Malaysia, China, Australia and the UK, speaks to student overwhelm.
I feel like when I was in school and at university, the kind of geography in my courses was highly technical. And so sometimes it was hard to understand how those technicalities could be translated into personal action on a local level to help kind of rationalize how overwhelming the kind of negative elements of kind of sustainability or the climate could be avoided. So I feel like when I was, if I was in school right now, I would like a bit more of like the positive elements of how I can actually make a difference. Because I think what I absolutely loved about geography when I was in school was learning about how the world worked. And that's also why I wanted to kind of pursue that further and do a degree in geography as well. But then actually understanding how I could make a difference, just being myself and someone at the time who was still learning and not working and not having that level of influence would have been very different to the way that I sort of look back at my school life now, learning geography. But then again, I think it's a conversation that's kind of come about in recent years of like the sort of discourse around climate anxiety and how action can sometimes help to ameliorate that. So I also understand that why it wasn't included when I was in school in my courses.
In Northern Ireland, geography educator Alistair Hamill reframes our mission.
One of the great things I think about being part of the United Kingdom with the 4 different nations and the different approaches that we take is that there's a chance to learn from each other and to have that diversity that we can listen to and engage with. So what you're hopefully going to get a little bit of an insight into a particular project that we're doing here in Northern Ireland. But I thought that the place to start, and you are absolutely the expert in this, Kit, because you were the first person I ever heard talk about teaching climate change as a safeguarding issue. And I remember vividly coming across that concept as you were articulating it and just being really struck by the framing of that, of making me think about this differently. As an educator, I think very often we're thinking about the knowledge that we're having to communicate to our young people, and certainly there's a lot of knowledge that the young people need to learn about climate change. But the social and emotional dimensions of learning are so key. You know, you've got to try and get the kids to care about the stuff that you're doing.
Act 3. Smash the silos. Climate isn't a solo subject. Mike Hardesty from Engineering UK proves solutions belong everywhere.
We've just had Tomorrow's Engineers weeks in school. I think that was last week. So I'm talking to you in November at the moment. But we have the Climate Schools programme, which we piloted in the previous academic year, and we've just launched this academic year. So the Climate Schools programme is a suite of lesson plans for delivery by teachers rather than by STEM ambassadors or climate ambassadors, and that covers geography, science, and English, as well as an after-school club activity as well. So that is, a very, very much a climate-based solutions set of sessions, and we're trying to go beyond science and geography into English, where we've got some debates and discussions and that sort of thing. Brilliant. So that is now launched, and you can sign up to that anytime you want. As a teacher, so that would be for you to deliver. For the Tackling Climate Change, that is a STEM ambassador and climate ambassador resource, and what I'm looking for at the moment, because we've just hosted it on STEM Learning's platform, is for STEM ambassadors and climate ambassadors to pick that up and offer it out to schools.
Rachel Newell, Social Sustainability Manager, erases false divides.
My job title is Social Sustainability Manager at Kia, but I am very much about environmental sustainability as well. I think, again, I don't think you can separate them very easily. So although I don't get involved in compliance issues on our sites and things like that, I certainly would be involved in, for example, promoting green skills in careers. A lot of what my role is about getting people on board, staff engagement on ideas. So it might be things like getting them to think about how they can be more sustainable on site, whether it's reducing, like having a green travel plan and reducing their miles, the commuting miles in some way, looking at waste recycling, right up to, using solar powered plant equipment and reducing the carbon in design as well. We talk to design managers about how we can, they're thinking about operational carbon as well in the buildings.
Act 4. Nature's Nexus. Champion of Soils, Chris Churchman delivers our most underrated solution.
Yeah, well, so soil is a topic that most people don't engage with, and I can understand why. But
this is great.
It is probably the most valuable resource in terms of climate change. So yes, as this slide says, in 2015, the French, being the French, they were very sort of bullish about being able to resolve climate change completely just through soil health. So they came up with this calculation 4 per mille, which is basically if you improve soil health by 0.4% per year, then you would resolve climate change. That would be it, done and dusted. No need for renewable energy, nothing else. You would just do it through this. Now there's been a lot of rowing back on that ever since, but it's still, by respectable bodies and organisations, it's still expected that 30% of climate change emissions will be dealt with through soil health.
Act 5. The upgrade. Clean energy is not a sacrifice. Nuclear safety engineer Jonathan Allen cuts through Thea.
I think what the key message is here is that by using nuclear power, we are reducing the need to burn fossil fuels. We're reducing the pollution, therefore, that we're producing from fossil fuels, and substantially so. And so while nuclear power has its drawbacks, like I said, everything has some. The big plus compared to coal and oil and gas is you haven't got all this smog coming out, all this smoke, all this pollution that people are breathing in, and getting sick and making the planet sick. So absolutely, since nuclear power stations first started operating commercially back in the 1950s, they have been reducing gradually the reliance on fossil fuels. And now in the UK, of course, we don't burn any coal to generate electricity for the first time since the Industrial Revolution.
An energy consultant, Johnny Ruffle, sees communities embracing this shift.
A place like Caister, or like any of the others we did, have to draw down carbon to reach that sort of net position in 15, 20 years time, where there's still going to be some legacy emissions. We're not going to be able to eliminate everything. But if we can plant a few more trees, do some rewilding, and grow our food in a more sustainable way, we can put that net into net zero and really get there. We then have some comments from the community saying what they would like, what would make their lives better, because clean energy and net zero really is an upgrade on the existing systems. It doesn't just fight climate change. It really is an upgrade with loads of potential side benefits as well. So we talk about what people would like in their community, and then we factor that into the pathway that we create. So we go away, crunch some numbers, and see what's needed for that community and also what's wanted for that community. And we represent that graphically, showing that if you act in a concerted way, don't panic, but do crack on with things, we can get a long way to net zero by 2050 for these communities.
Act 6, the momentum. Climate Ambassador Scheme co-leader Andrew Charlton-Perez captures why this work fuels itself.
In a sense, the sky's the limit here, right? I mean, this is a I've been involved in lots of different things in my career. As I sort of gave you some of the numbers about how big the organisation I run in my day job is. And it's a wonderful place to work. I'm so lucky to work here and work with so many amazing colleagues. But the sense of momentum that climate ambassadors is what gets me out of bed in the morning for sure, because I've never worked on anything where there's a sense of momentum from all sides, from the amazing team that we have working on the project, from the amazing volunteers that we have, from the schools and the teachers and the young people. It just feels like we and all of our colleagues in the other projects are kind of hitting the sweet spot. This is something that it really feels like something that lots of people want to do. They want to get behind the momentum, and we've kind of seen that growth really quickly. And it's not, the numbers are amazing, and I'm constantly blown away by the numbers. But you're absolutely right, Kit. It's not about the numbers really. It's about seeing those examples, and when you hear about those examples and you hear about the amazing events and amazing things, before we came on, Kit and I were talking about an event that Kit and our other colleague Tilly went to yesterday, and just seeing the young people engaged in some of this work is you would have to have a heart of stone not to be impressed by the amazing engagement and knowledge that they have, and what a privilege, what an amazing job to be doing, that you're in some way part of that. It's just utterly incredible. And for the volunteer ambassadors as well, I mean, we'd love as many as we can get, and there's just such a positive feeling when you are an ambassador. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I'm a bit curious, I might be interested in doing that, please just give it a go. You won't regret it. You'll get so much from just that day or a couple of days that you can give to us from your volunteering time. It's such a positive experience.
The final act and the closing. A warning from the Fens. Our final word comes from Environment Agency's Amy Shaw, part of a team who are guardians of East Anglia's critically endangered fens.
A 2-degree rise in temperature, which we may be likely to see between 2040 and 2050, within this landscape, because of that man-made nature and because of its interconnectedness, as you said, we're sort of sitting in this perfect storm, and we're likely to see these compounding impacts. So we won't just see increase in flood risk, we won't just see increase in drought, we will also see loss of biodiversity refugia, impacts in terms of temperature rises, and if you think about all of those sort of compounding together, what the Tyndall Centre told us was that the unique nature of this landscape is that we sort of get it all together, and we've never seen anything like that before. So we don't know, we don't know how our landscape is going to react. So we need to start thinking about it now.
The studies of climate science that informs a lot of the Fens 2100 work say that 2 degrees of warming of a global average since pre-industrial times is possible, if not likely, by just 2040. 2040, when today's nursery children leave school. But ambassadors show us: start small, root locally, shatter silos, trust soil, demand upgrades, and ride the momentum. The machine of change needs every cog, including yours. And I hope that these stories and discussions from climate ambassadors all across the country makes you feel that you too can be an important cog. We need to act. I really hope you enjoyed this season of Coffee and Geography as much as I did making it. Some of the wonderful in-person chats, on-location recordings of major events, and fabulous discussions of people giving up their time and their passions to support the young children of the future in a changing climate. We hope to be back next year for season 6 for some more amazing discussions where we will welcome back guests from across the world. But we really do need your support. We cannot run this podcast without paying for hosting fees, for the equipment that needs to run it, for the travel that needs to be to get to places, to on-location recordings. So please do consider buying a coffee and giving a generous amount so we can keep this work going and keep the conversations coming to you both via your podcast app and via YouTube. All the links that you need are down in the description. So hopefully we'll see you again in 2026.